All right. Well, hey everyone. I hope this finds you guys well. I just want to remind you guys all, Becky and I, we are in a season of partnership development. So we're asking for two main things. You can be praying for us, and the second thing is advocating for us. If you guys know of people that would be just interested in hearing about OMF, about our ministry, or just in missions in general, we'd love to connect, whether it be your small group or your church or missions committee. We'd just love to have that opportunity to do so. As I mentioned earlier, Becky and I in this season here, we're also doing a series called BBB. Um, Rodney said last week it was Buffalo Bills baby, but that's not BBB. It was beyond Brian and Becky, or beside Brian and Becky, and just this is an opportunity and some space just to get to hear from our different colleagues, hearing their perspectives, their stories, and yeah, LMF, we just have a super diverse number of teams and personnel and people that do so many really important things for the fellowship. And so for this week here, we get to have Matt. So Matt, go and say hi.
Hey, hey.
Matt, yeah. Matt, yeah, he actually serves as the Serve Asia director. Serve Asia, as many of you guys know, is our short-term missions discipleship program. So that this is the program for anyone that's going short-term for anywhere up to 2 weeks, up to 1 year, or 11 months and and 29 days or whatever, 39 days or 30 days. I don't know. But anyways, up to 1 year. And Matt, I think, yeah, you lead a team. How many people on your team right now? You have seven,
I
eight,
think we have 10 on our team.
10.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, Matt and I, we've been serving together. I think we just joined OMF. I think Matt beat me by about 6, 7 months or so, about a half a year, back in
Yeah.
2012 or 2013, I think.
2013. Yep.
2013. Yep. Yep. Okay. So it was just a few months after. So yeah. Well, Matt, I'd love for you just maybe if you wanted to share real quickly just a little bit of your story. How did God lead you to OMF and to Serve Asia?
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate the opportunity. Praying for you guys in this
Yeah. Thank
season.
you.
And yeah, it's been fun to get to know you guys and work together alongside you guys. That's one of the things I love about OMF is the people that get to share
Yeah.
life with. So yeah, I grew up in Indiana, not the same part of Indiana as Becky, but up farther north. And um, thankfully, I grew up in a strong gospel preaching church, and we had missions conferences growing up. So I had a really like deep seeds planted growing up, and I grew an interest in cross cultural things in general, languages, just fascinated by other people's experiences. Did a New York City mission trip in high school, went to the Dominican Republic after that, and was able to like join into our Spanish church. So I had a lot of those seeds planted early on, and the Lord eventually kind of directed my path toward cross-cultural ministry, and did a master's in cross-cultural ministry. And then it was like at that point I had no idea what was next. And uh, that's where OMF came in. I called and said, "What is this thing called OMF?" I didn't know much about it other than it
So you
was
called versus
global
like
missions.
emailed.
I think I did email. I don't remember. It was both. I called. Yeah, I emailed both, and emailed to ask about it. Ended up calling.
Hmm.
Um, I just found it on the internet, so I didn't really know who I was talking to.
Hmm.
But yeah, and I came to really appreciate the way that they ran short-term missions, especially the
Yeah.
follow-up, because
Hmm.
I had just a couple of years before that led a trip, and worked really hard at the pre-field training stuff and the on-field stuff. But then after the trip, it was like that was it. The trip was over as soon as we landed, as soon as the plane landed. So, yeah, come to OMF felt like, oh, this is like the missing piece that
Hmm.
I was looking for after like that short-term mission experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Awesome. Well, Matt, as we just kind of just dive into just some more or questions, I thought just maybe a funny one, a funny little icebreaker question. Where I was asking Rodney last week. OMF, we're in the business of crossing cultures, if you will, right? And obviously, you get to help facilitate and see literally hundreds of people go out on short-term missions. Maybe I was wondering, do you have a short, story of a cultural mistake, boo-boo, or something that one of your participants, or maybe something that you did or one of your team members did? Yeah, yeah. Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, one thing that came to mind was my very first trip to Asia. I went to Malaysia and Indonesia, which are primarily Muslim countries, and they celebrate Ramadan. It was the season of Ramadan. I was there, and I think I was on one of the plane rides. It was about like 7 o'clock in the evening, and I'm hungry, so I've got my, food. I'm just like eating away, and I'm kind of looking at the clock like, why is the flight delayed? This doesn't make any sense. And like, what's going on? Everybody's just twiddling their thumbs. And then all of a sudden there was like the big announcement on the speaker, and I didn't exactly know what it said. But then at that moment, everybody busted out their snacks and food and like started eating. And I realized, oh man, I was like sitting there eating while everybody is at the very end of their fasting
Twitter
all
pass.
day.
Oh no. Yeah.
It's like, oh man, stupid American. Oh well.
They're just staring at it, just salivating or no.
Yeah, basically it felt like that. And I didn't know why at first
Oh
until
no.
that
Yeah.
announcement or
Yeah.
why they delayed. And then it was like, oh,
Yeah.
everything made
Yeah.
sense. But oh well.
Wow. Yeah. I appreciate it. Thanks,
They
Matt.
still
Thanks,
let me
Matt.
on the plane.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. Matt, one of the things that, you had mentioned and, it's actually a big piece of, Becky and I in our journey too. We ended up joining OMF through Serve Asia. And, you know, uh, whenever I remember first sharing about OMF and short-term missions and, you know, and most people are very familiar with short-term trips. Short-term trips, you go, you serve in a cross culture and for a couple weeks. You do a VBS or you teach some English or you do a health clinic or whatever it is. You come back and maybe you go back the next year kind of thing. And you kind of alluded to already, there was something unique, there was something different that really drew you into the Serve Asia program and the culture of Serve Asia. Yeah, maybe I just love to maybe just double click into there a little more and just hear a little if you wanted to add a little more color to just what made Serve Asia so unique and special, and maybe also too what kind of like what gap did it really fill that maybe you were seeing or maybe that you had experienced it. Oh man, yeah, this is it. This is the missing piece, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, on that line of thought, the when I got back from the trip I led to Jamaica was a bunch of high school students. I felt like, oh, shouldn't we be getting together? Or like, I'm really curious, how did this trip impact the
Hmm.
kids? And it just happened that a couple months later, I moved away from that area and kind of lost touch with everybody. So I really still to this day don't know how exactly that trip impacted them. So when I walked into OMF and this philosophy and culture of like we really want to leverage the short-term mission trip experience for lifelong impact and lifelong ministry. So, like, number one, our goal is, you know, you mentioned it earlier, missions discipleship. So, first of all, we want to help you grow in your relationship with Jesus. That's overall the number one thing. It's not just about recruiting long-term missionaries. And a big part of that is okay, now that whatever your experience was on the field, how do we coach you and mentor you, unpack those things, ask the really deep questions, what's God doing in your life? And then not just brushing it off like, okay, you went, you had your Christian pilgrimage experience and you're done. Like you can get on with the rest of your life, but really dig
Hmm.
into um, the other five of the 6 ways. Maybe you're
Yeah.
not going in the next month again. So how is it that God's calling you to be involved in the Great Commission? So that's those are the big things: the focus on discipleship after the trip, mentoring, training, the kingdom mindset. It's not just about recruiting for OMF, but seeing strategic long-term involvement in the kingdom of God.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the, I think one of the neat things, and I know that you guys have already made some just unique transition changes just even recently around the whole idea of follow-up. Previously we had a team of like all internal people that would, of people that were kind of doing that follow-up after the trip, all that stuff, or we were equipping the team leaders to really be the people to do that intentional follow-up after the trip. But I think it's really neat what you guys have been doing as far as incorporating the church into the whole Serve Asia process. Maybe just real quickly say a little bit about that and how, yeah, I think that's a really neat piece.
Yeah, well, our like the way we've done short-term teams has kind of evolved since you guys went out, to where we're not doing as many national teams. It's a lot more individuals, it's church teams. So yeah, we realized the opportunity for each of those individual participants have people in their life. God's already working in their life before they
Yeah.
come to us. So
Mm.
so we just ask them, hey, do you have anybody that could mentor you in this area of missions? And then we meet with the mentor and kind of cast a vision for how we um, see their role in this person's life. And it's been amazing. Katie is our mission mentor coordinator, and she has had some great conversations with the mentors that are really excited to be part of the short-term person's life.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. Matt, just maybe it was a couple months ago. You had shared, you had put together this report, and I don't know what kind of prompted you to do it, but I had read it, and I was just my just jaw just dropped. It was just an amazing just reflection of the past, 10 years of God working through the Serve Asia program. And so maybe I was just thinking, I was like, would you be willing to, I kind of threw this onto you a little last minute, but would you be willing to kind of pull that up, maybe share screen kind of thing? And I'd love for, yeah, maybe if there are maybe one or two highlights or things that really just stand out to you, or maybe that surprised you from that report as you were putting that together. Yeah.
Yeah, let's pull this up here. What prompted it was, I've been in Servasia for 12 years, I guess now. And, we always ask, or people want to know how many, like, how many people end up going long term. And I just never had never had any concrete statistics. So finally, we have collected 10 years of alumni data. So over the past 10 years, yeah, we had this is from the US to Asia. Globally, the program number would be much higher than this. The US is just one small part of the big OMF International. But from the US, we've had 660 some people go. And so if you add up those total days of service, it ends up being basically one full lifetime.
Mm.
85 years invested in the kingdom of God. And um, most of those are like 2 week trips. Um, but let me fast forward here to let's see. And that's like up and down, and that includes the COVID years, where we had very, very few people end up going because we just couldn't get visas into the countries. Um, but even God provided amazingly through the
Mm.
virtual events that we did through there. But probably the one that was most impactful was this question of how many people do end up going long term after they go through Servasia. So it ends up being about 10%. So, we had 44 people join OMF as missionaries or staff, and 23 became missionaries that were not with OMF. And then we also had about 10% people come on a multiple short-term trips. Um, so yeah, so that's really exciting. I said it's not about recruiting to OMF, but we do praise God for the people that have come back and continue the mission.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So the 66 there, that's returning short term or people that would come back for another short term trip with OMF.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I think the stats I think that we've seen, just even amongst other kind of fellowships too. Yeah, it's yeah, it can kind of vary, just depending on like the specific program and again, it's not that we are trying to actually say, hey, like this is how we're going to recruit and mobilize for long term. But as part of that journey and walking with people, we recognize that yeah, God does some really powerful stuff through short-term trips. Kind of like with that being said, there, Matt, one of the most rewarding things is getting, I was in Survey Asia for a couple years, and one of the most rewarding things is getting to hear their stories of how God uses and transforms them as they go serve, come back, and are just kind of met with this new reality, this new world. And one of the things we've always said is, when you leave and when you come back, you are not the same person, and God does a really special work kind of thing. And so maybe I don't know if there's any, are there maybe one or two stories, and I don't know, just stand out to you, where yeah, where they were both able to maybe meaningful, really actually contribute towards the long-term church planting missions efforts overseas, and also maybe how they, yeah, how did they change as a person too?
Yeah, one story that comes to mind is Emily. She went to Nepal a couple of years ago to do an internship, and in terms of the church planning impact that she had on the ground was just uh, mostly with her host family. That she stayed with a Buddhist family in a little apartment. You know, they had an extra room, and she stayed with them for 9 months. So just like
Mm,
that life on life, being able to share the gospel, demonstrate the gospel, it was quite hard for her in some ways. Like there was kind of a mother father relationship there, but there was also times where she felt like they just looked at her with dollar signs, and
mm,
they just wanted her money. But she used that opportunity not only to share the gospel on the ground, but also mobilize all of her prayer supporters to continue to pray for this couple, for this family as they went through, they had issues with their kids and grandkids and different things. And so, yeah, so that was amazing. And then she's, continuing her missions journey today. She's really got a heart for people in the Middle East, and she's taking steps toward long-term service among them. Yeah, that's one story. Another quick story is um, a guy named Thomas went over to Japan for a few months, and the way that they do outreach in the church is they come up with these programs or like clubs.
mm.
Is one way that it's hard to get people that are unfamiliar with the church to come to a service, but they'll come to a club. So they had this like ongoing ukulele class, and so
Ah,
Thomas is by no means a ukulele player or anything like that, but he was willing to learn and willing to
mm,
like step in and lead this class. And as part of the class, he got to share a Bible study and just continue to plant seeds of helping to deconstruct people's misconceptions of God. In Japan, it just takes years and years and years to kind of
mm,
unravel and take layer after layer after layer of misunderstanding of who God is, and
mm.
like to be able to be open to the idea that a Japanese person could be a Christian. So yeah, so it was great to see Thomas just step into that and be a part of it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, there's so many. I mean, literally hundreds. And I was even just I was reminded too of, we only sent a few people during 2020, 2020, 2021, 2022 as well. And so
Hmm.
my guess that maybe that number would have been maybe closer to 800, 900 or something like that.
Sure.
If you kind of normalize it out kind of thing. But yeah, anyways, Matt, one of the things that I remember when I had first joining my first Survey Asia, trip, and part of the whole process, you come out to pre-field training, and your team and the various staff members get to lead the various sessions. And I remember one of the sessions was led by Mark Bradley, and he was the mobilization director at the time, and he kind of talked about how like Jesus utilized, short-term trips in ways. He would send out his disciples two by two and all that stuff. They'd come back, report. He'd disciple them in that whole process there. And then later, I remember Mark going like he'd shared, I think it was John 12, John 14, where Jesus says to his followers, "Whoever believes in me will do the same works and will do even greater things." And kind of debate aside, around, are we gonna raise the dead like Lazarus kind of thing, or that kind of side there. The point, I think, was around this rippling impact, that the disciples were going to have this rippling impact for their lifetime and beyond their lifetime as well, and the rumor of Jesus would continue to spread, right? And so I don't know, maybe one question for you. Um, Surveys, one of the things that I've really appreciated is just that really intentional long-term integration to someone's mission, into their mission experience into their life as they come back home, whether they go or whether they stay, whether they engage in some other way, kind of thing. Is there another story or something like that, that stands out to you as someone who came back from their trip, and yeah, and you were just really encouraged by the way they continued to be engaged in missions, kind of going forward?
Yeah, well, the first story that comes to mind is your story, Brian, is, the way that God led you from a pizza party, an OMF pizza party in
That's right.
college, to taking a trip to Thailand, then leading a
Yep.
trip to Thailand, and taking students, taking buddies over to Thai restaurants. I feel like the way that God used that trip is it shaped the way that you led youth ministry, um, and then eventually led you back to OMF. It shapes the way that you mobilize, the way that you lead mobilization team now. So that's certainly one story. Another is a girl named Anna went to um, Japan a few years ago and spent a summer there, like an internship. She was a student at Moody Bible Institute. So she's already
Mm.
got missions on her mind. She's got a heart for Japan. I got to share the gospel really clearly with one of the ladies. Um, and she's like kind of a quiet person. When she talked about being able to share the gospel, I was like, what? Anna did that? It's like, this is great. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and she got
Mm.
married during that time. And then basically mobilized her husband. He wasn't really sure about Japan, but they went over, I guess it's 23 now, 2023, and spent a few months just working in the local church, getting to know the community, praying through God's direction for their life. And now they're on their way. They're being appointed to go to Japan long term. So
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, we'll see how the Lord uses them in the future.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Well, hey, Matt, thank you. I just want to first of all just thank you so much for just taking some time to just share some of your stories, and I've just really appreciated the Serve Asia program, and just how big a part of it it's been in my life and Becky's life, kind of thing, and I know just yeah, literally hundreds of people who come through just your guys' program is just an amazing. I don't know, just I just whenever they come. I think in a week from now, you guys are having a batch of about 15, 16 people coming through. I just kind of look at as they come through. I'm like, oh, you don't even know what journey God is going to be taking you on. I just get so excited for what you guys are doing, and for the ways that they're going to be challenged and changed, and the way they're going to contribute towards, yeah, the church planting efforts around the world. Matt, as we kind of close here, is there anything else? Maybe I don't know. You just wanted to share or anything like that. I don't know. Just give you an open mic there, and if not, no worries. We can have to conclude here too.
Yeah, which soapbox should I choose to jump on?
Yeah.
Just kidding. No. I mean, I would say in terms of short-term missions, there's just really powerful ministry of encouragement to our
Yeah.
long-term workers.
Mm,
That's still, it's not like it's there's a lot of criticism of short-term missions, and there should be a
yeah.
lot of criticism that's been done poorly in a lot of ways, but there's still opportunities to be a huge encouragement, and for there's a place for giving them long-term missionaries a boost and standing with them. Yep.
Yeah. There's almost just it's this ministry of presence too, of
Yeah.
like of showing up, and not only for the workers, just oh man, yeah, people yeah cared and kind of thing, but the locals watching as well and seeing oh
Yeah.
my goodness, yeah, here are people that are carving out time and resources to be here for something for some reason, right? And that's the missionaries are every missionary, every Christian's favorite answer is why. You know, why do you do what you do, kind of thing, right? And yeah, that's such a powerful, I don't know, yeah, just a ministry of presence, of encouragement to our workers and to the people that yeah that we get to serve too. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, Matt. Well, hey everyone, we just want to remind you guys real quick again. Becky and I we're going to be in the San Francisco Bay Area between May 25th and June 8th. We'd love to connect, grab coffee, grab a meal, kind of thing. Thai food, we're always down for Thai food. But yeah, we'd love to see you guys and hope to connect soon. With that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Catch you later. Bye. All right.